Shalom everyone, my name is Rabbanit Dalia Davis and I'm the Director of Pastoral Education at SVIVAH, and I want to learn a piece of the first chapter of Megillat Ruth with you. So Megillat Ruth is read on Shavuot, and one of the ideas of why it's read on Shavuot is the piece that we're going to look at right now. So first, let me give the backstory. So the chapter begins with this family of four: the father Elimelech, the wife Naomi, and their two sons Machlon and Kilion, leaving Israel because of a famine, and they go to Moab and they settle there. And while they're there seeking respite from the famine, their sons Machlon and Kilion marry two Moabite princesses, Ruth and Orpah, who are also sisters. Then the three men all die. So Elimelech the father and the two sons Machlon and Kilion die, leaving behind them Naomi, who's now lost her husband and her two sons, and her two daughter-in-laws, Ruth and Orpah, who have just lost their husbands. And Naomi at this point decides that she's going to return to Israel, and so she starts to make her journey back home, and her daughter-in-laws begin the journey and say, "We're coming with you." Naomi pushes back and says, No, don't come with me. I have nothing more to offer you. And Orpah decides to stay in Moab, to return home, to her home. And Ruth says, no, I'm going to stay with you. I'm going to keep coming. And this moment where Ruth decides that she's going to stay with Naomi and keep going with her all the way back to Israel is often considered the reason why, or one of the reasons why, we read the book of Ruth on Shavuot, because just as it's celebrated as a Matan Torah for everyone, that we've received the Torah on this holiday, where we celebrate that revelation at Mount Sinai, so too Ruth is accepting the Torah upon herself. This is often like the sources that the rabbis look at when they're trying to figure out how should conversion work within the Jewish people. How can people enter into the Jewish people and accept the Torah if they weren't born into it? And Ruth is doing that in this moment. But I want to look at these verses very carefully with you and ask a couple questions. So we're going to look in chapter 1. We're going to start with verse 16, Tetzayin, and look at Ruth's words. So Ruth says, Al tifkei bi, la'azavech lashuv me'acharayich. She says to Naomi, don't urge me to leave you, to turn back. Ki el asher telchi elech uvasher talini alin. I want to go and I will walk wherever you walk, and I will sleep wherever you sleep. Amech ami v'elokayich elokai. Your nation is my nation and your God is my God. And she continues with similar language. And what I was thinking about when I was looking at these verses was, there's something here about the way that Ruth phrases her desire to become part of the Jewish people that sounds like it's very intrinsically connected to Naomi. She doesn't say, I want to join the Jewish people. I want to believe in the Jewish God. I want to keep the mitzvot. I want to accept upon myself the Torah. She's saying, I want to do what you're doing. I want to be like you. I want to sleep where you sleep. I want to go where you go. I want to be with your people and your God. And I wonder if there's something there that is hinting to us a deeper understanding of the relationship between Naomi and her daughter-in-law Ruth. And it's not only telling us that Ruth decided to accept the Torah, but it's telling us that the way in which it came about was a reflection of the relationship that these two had. And it might be something worth considering whether that was an entirely healthy relationship. Was Ruth doing this out of her own volition, or was she doing this in some way because of her relationship with Naomi? I want to ask one additional question, and then I'll offer some suggestions, and then really what I want is to hear your ideas. So here's the other part that struck me, is after Ruth goes on for another couple verses saying how she's going to do whatever Naomi does, right after she's done, all it says for Naomi's reaction is that Naomi sees that Ruth is not going to turn back. It does not have any dialogue from Naomi back to Ruth. And this strikes me as so strange and such a huge absence, because I feel like the way that Ruth's talking is almost like, I almost think of it as like a proposal, right? Like somebody says all these beautiful things. I love you and I want to spend the rest of my life with you and I want to follow you wherever you go. And then the person who's being proposed to says nothing, like silence, and just keeps walking. And it could be that Naomi said something and it's not included in the text, but I think the absence of her reaction here is very noteworthy and something worth thinking about. As the learners of this text, why is she saying nothing? If she did say something, why isn't it included? And if she didn't, why? How could she let that whole big open-hearted outpour from Ruth go without a response? So I want to offer an answer for each question, and then I really want to hear your thoughts. So I wonder if Ruth is saying to Naomi, I want to do what you do, rather than I want to be a part of the Jewish people. I'm interested in the religion. I'm interested in the peoplehood. I'm interested in joining, is because all Ruth has experienced so far as somebody who grew up in Moab and has now interacted with this one family is the Torah of this one family. She has not yet seen the rest of the Jewish people. She has not yet seen their practice of Judaism. She has not been a part of the whole community. And so what she can accept at this moment is only what she's been exposed to, which is only the Torah of Naomi. And only later in the book will she have more exposure to more people and see the beauty of Judaism in a broader, more diverse way. But right now, that's all she knows. And so she says, I will accept this. This is what I see. And everything I see about Judaism and everything I know comes from you. And then why does Naomi not respond? And so for that, I want to share, I'm like deeply into reading right now Rachel Goldberg-Poland's book. I'm part of the SVIVAH book club that's being so beautifully run by Jordan and Katie. And I keep hearing in what I'm reading these moments where after this horrific loss that Rachel experienced, she wanted to be alone. There were times where she didn't want to have other people around. And I wonder if Naomi, who just lost her husband and both of her children, doesn't feel like she has the capacity to be with somebody and have these like big, beautiful, intimate conversations and help Ruth in the way that Ruth wants, and really like respond in that like open-hearted way, because perhaps she feels so broken after the losses that she endured. And so they just walk together, and Ruth understands, and maybe Naomi doesn't feel like she needs to say anymore. And that's how they go on into the next chapters of the story. So that's a couple thoughts that occurred to me. But as Rabbanit Aliza so beautifully said yesterday, each of us has our own perspective of the Torah. We each take it in and digest it and interpret it in our own ways. So what I'd love is if you would put into the chat your thoughts about the following two questions. One, why is Ruth's acceptance of the Torah so intrinsically connected to Naomi? And the second question is, why doesn't Naomi respond? Why doesn't she say anything? Thank you so much. I enjoy and I'm excited to listen and learn from your Torah, and wishing you a Chag Shavuot Sameach.